Hi guys, welcome to Educating College's Selective Preparation Power Reading Test 34. Today we'll be reading a poem called On the Rocks by John Faulkner. Let's begin reading. A crab, spouting from the water, dangling its legs over shells. It lugs its body sideways like a survivor dragged clear, then shudders into speed, a hovercraft's height from the rocks, sidestepping periwinkles. With the ease of a waiter through tables, lowers its harness of crab meat till its belly grinds into the pattern of polyps. Its pincers twist in, legs become ridges in the stone. Suddenly, splinters of smashed water fill the rock pool, the sea snatching up loose life, leaving in a crossfire of foam. Not with the crab though. The crab waits, jerks into limbs and extremities, and runs through the instant of the water's withdrawal, wedges between rocks like a lost coin. Only its eyes spring from the crevice, dulled with cloud and my shadow. Let's begin the questions. Question 17 says, the poet compares the crab to a waiter in order to describe A. How rapidly the crab is able to move, B. How efficient the crab is at hunting food, C. The method the crab uses to catch food, or D. The skillful movements of the crab. So we know that we can cancel out B and C because they mentioned food, and in the poem, they weren't talking about hunting or catching food. So is it A, how rapidly the crab is able to move, or B, how skillfully the crab moves? Well, let's think about this imagery that they created. What does a waiter do? Does a waiter move rapidly or skillfully? Well, if you know a waiter, it's more likely to be D, skillful, because a waiter must be very careful while they're juggling many different activities, and it wouldn't be rapid in order to maintain cleanliness and not to bump into things. The next question reads, which of these quotations is not of a scenario where the crab might be camouflaged? A, only its eyes spring from the crevice. B, its belly grinds into the pattern of polyps. C, dangling its legs over shells, or D, legs become ridges in the stone. Remember, it says here, not a scenario where the crab might be camouflaged. So, only its eyes spring from the crevice, that suggests that the crab is hiding. So it can't be extract B because that's saying it is where the camouflage is. Is it B, its belly grinds into the pattern of polyps? Pattern of polyps suggests that the crab is camouflaging, so it can't be B. Is it C, dangling its legs over the shells? It's going to be this, and I'll explain after we look at D. D, legs become ridges in the stone. So where it says become says that the crab is camouflaging. The reason it's C, dangling its legs over the shells, because dangling suggests that the crab is seen, so it's not camouflaged. So that's why for 18 we have C. Next we have question 19, which reads, which of the following words from the poem describes one of the crab's actions? A, shudders, B, smashed, C, leaving, D, withdrawal. So what is something that the crab can do? Can it smash? No. Can it leave? Yes. Can it withdraw? Yes, but these are unlikely to be actions that the crab is doing. Remember, withdrawal, if we come back to the poem, is describing instead the water. Where it says it here. And then if we look at leaving, we can see that for leaving, they're instead talking about, again, the water, and they're talking about the shadow. Where it says it here. So with question 19, it must be A, shudders, and let's just double check. And it says here, it lugs its body sideways like a survivor dragged clear, then shudders into speed. Next we have question 20, which reads, the poet gives the word wedges a line of its own because A, they forgot to leave him a treat, B, to frighten the sleepers awake, C, so people would notice him, or D, because he disliked human possessions. So we know that's not extract A, they forgot to leave him a treat because, well, they're not talking about leaving a treat in the water or giving it to the crab. It's not D, because he disliked human possessions. They're not talking about humans in this. Remember, the subject is the crab. Is it B, to frighten the sleepers awake, or is it C, so people would notice him? Well, let's go back to the poem. We can see wedges here, and run through the instant of the water's withdrawal, wedges between rocks like a lost coin. So here it's not likely to be C, so people would notice him, and therefore we have left B. Okay, next we have question 21, which reads, which conclusion about the poet can be drawn from On the Rocks? We have A, he was disappointed when shadows obscured his view of the rock pool. B, he lost sight of the crab once it reached the rock pool. C, he was concerned that he might disturb the creatures in the rock pool. Or D, he stood close enough to the rock pool to cast a shadow over it. Let's just look for this line. Title is here. So basically the question is asking, what is this poem talking about? Let's look at where they say shadows here. Only its eyes spring from the crevice, dulled with cloud and my shadow. So is it he was disappointed when shadows obscured his view of the rock pool? Unlikely to be. There's nothing that suggests disappointment. Is it B, he lost sight of the crab once it had reached the rock pool? Unlikely, because we're not talking about losing sight. Remember, it was just camouflaged. Is it C, he was concerned that he might disturb the creatures in the rock pool? Again, there's nothing to suggest creatures, only the crab. So it must be D, he stood close enough to the rock pool to cast a shadow over it, which again is the last two lines. Next we have the last question, which is 22. It reads, it is most likely that the poet wrote On the Rocks because he was fascinated by the A, impact of the sea on the rock pool, B, unusual beauty of creatures that inhabit rock pools, C, way in which a crab survived in its environment, or D, way creatures coexist in a marine environment. And again, like the previous question, they didn't mention other creatures, so it can't be B or D. And it's not A, impact of the sea on the rock pool, because we don't see the sea and the rock pool being in comparison. So it must be C, way in which a crab survives in its environment. I thank you guys so much for coming to Educating College's Selective Preparation Power Reading Test 34. I'll see you guys next time.